The White Lotus. The White Lotus is an American black comedy drama anthology television series created by Mike White for HBO. It follows the guests and employees of the fictional White Lotus resort chain whose stay is affected by their various psychosocial dysfunctions. The first season is set in Hawaii and the second season is set in Sicily. American comedy drama anthology television series. Ty's article is about the TV series. For the religious and political movement, see White Lotus. American TV series or program intended as a six-part limited series, The White Lotus premiered on July 11, 2021, to critical acclaim and high ratings. The show's success led to HBO renewing it as an anthology series. A second season premiered on October 30, 2022. In November 2022, the series was renewed for a third season. The American Film Institute named it one of the 10 best television programs of 2021 and 2022. The first season was the most awarded series at the 74th Primetime Emmy Awards, winning 10 awards, including Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series, Outstanding Writing and Outstanding Directing for White, Outstanding Supporting Actress for Jennifer Coolidge, and Outstanding Supporting Actor for Murray Bartlett. Premise. The series details a week in the life of vacationers as they relax and rejuvenate in paradise. With each passing day, a darker complexity emerges in these picture-perfect travelers, the hotel's cheerful employees, and the idyllic locale itself. Murray Bartlett as Armand, the manager of the White Lotus Resort and a recovering drug addict who has been sober for 5 years. Kenny Britton as Nicole Mosbacher, a CFO of a search engine company. Jennifer Coolidge as Tanya McCoy, a troubled woman whose mother recently died and who seeks inner peace and discovery. Alexandra Daddario as Rachel Patton, a newlywed struggling journalist who does clickbait. Gigsford Heckinger as Quinn Mosbacher, Nicole and Mark's socially awkward, screen-addicted teenage son. Jake Lacey as Shane Patton, Rachel's husband, who is a demanding and entitled wealthy real estate agent. Brittany O'Grady as Paula, Olivia's less privileged but equally caustic mixed-race friend from college. And Natasha Rothwell as Belinda Lindsay, the resort's kindly spa manager, who develops a complicated relationship with Tanya. Sydney Sweeney as Olivia Mosbacher, Nicole and Mark's sardonic daughter who is a college sophomore. Steve Zahn as Mark Mosbacher, Nicole's husband who is dealing with a health crisis. Emily Shannon as Kitty Patton, Shane's overbearing mother, who pays for his honeymoon and makes the less-than-welcome unannounced visit. Lucas Gage as Dylan, a staffer at the White Lotus ski coast. Scott Kekimano as Kai, a native Hawaiian staffer at the White Lotus who forms a connection with Paula. Jen Grise as Greg Hunt, a White Lotus guest who connects with Tanya. Alec Molino as Hutch, a waiter at the White Lotus. Jolene Purdy as Lonnie, a trainee at the White Lotus who disguises her pregnancy. Murray Abraham as Bert DiGrasso, Dominic's elderly, womanizing fata. Jennifer Coolidge as Tanya McCoy Hunt, repressing her role from the first season. Adam DeMarco as Albie DiGrasso, Dominic's affable, socially awkward son, a recent Stanford graduate. Megan Fahey as Daphne Sullivan, Cameron's seemingly sweet but manipulative stay-at-home wife. Beatrice Gran as Mia, a local aspiring singer who resists her friend Lucia's attempts to introduce her to sex work. Jen Grise as Greg Hunt, Tanya's volatile husband, repressing his role from the first season. Tim Hollander as Quentin, a wealthy gay English expat traveling with his friends and nephew. Jack. Sabrina Impactor as Valentina, the strict, no-nonsense manager of the White Lotus in Sicily. Mikhail Imperioli as Dominic DiGrasso, a sex-addicted Hollywood producer traveling with his father Bert and son Albitho. James as Cameron Sullivan, a cocky and scheming investments manager. Daphne's husband and Ethan's college friend. Aubrey Plaza as Harper Spiller, a straight-laced lawyer. Ethan's wife Halilu Richardson as Portia, Tanya's rudderless young assistant whom she brings on her vacation. Will Sharp as Ethan Spiller, a newly wealthy tech entrepreneur. Harper's husband and Cameron's college friend. Simona Tabasco as Lucia, a local hustler and sex worker. Lo Woodall as Jack, a cheeky and charismatic young man from Essex, whom Quentin introduces as his nephew. Federico Ferranti as Rocco, a concierge at the White Lotus to whom Valentina has taken an inordinate dislike. Eleanor Romandini as Isabella, a concierge at the White Lotus with a permanent smile. Federico Scribani Rossi as Giuseppe, a lecherous middle-aged lounge singer and pianist at the White Lotus. Francesco Zecca as Matteo, Quentin's freeing Pillow Camilli as Hugo, Quentin's freeing Bruno Gowry as Didier, Quentin's freeing Laura Dern as the voice of Abby, Dominic's estranged wife. Episodes. On October 19, 2020, HBO gave The White Lotus a limited series order that consisted of 6 episodes. The series was created, written and directed by Mike White. White also serves as executive producer alongside David Burnett and Nick Hall. In an interview with Ben Travers of IndieWire at the 2021 ATX Television Festival, White explained his creative inspiration for the first season. White wished to explore the question of how money can pervert even our most intimate relationships, to examine the ethics of vacationing in other people's realities, and to present the flesh and blood experience of being gripped by the power dynamics of today's culture wars. Cristobal Tapia de Veer is the series composer and Ben Cutchins is the cinematographer for the series. On August 10, 2021, HBO renewed the series for a second season, which consists of 7 episodes and is titled The White Lotus, Sicily. White initially envisioned the second season taking place in a political setting, such as a Bilderberg conference, but scrapped this idea and chose Italy instead. Said White, "The kind of mythology of Sicily, at least from the point of view of Americans, is the archetypal sexual politics and role play that you associate with, like, opera and the mafia and Italian romance. I felt like it should be more focused on men and women and relationships and adultery and have an operatic feel to it, so I pivoted." Asked to describe the second season, White likened it to a bedroom farce with teeth. Kim Nundorf served as an additional composer for Season 2. On November 18, 2022, HBO renewed the series for a 3rd season. Following the Season 2 finale, creator Mike White hinted that the 3rd season would be set in Asia and center around death and spirituality, similarly to how the 1st season focused on class inequality and the 2nd season on sex and infidelity. In the limited series order announcement, Murray Bartlett, Connie Britton, Jennifer Coolidge, Alexandra Daddario, Fred Heckinger, Jake Lacey, Brittany O'Grady, Natasha Rothwell, Sydney Sweeney, and Steve Zahn were cast to star. On October 30, 2020, Molly Shannon, John Grise, Jolene Purdy, Kiko Kekimino, and Lucas Gage joined the cast in recurring roles. Alec Merlino, who was a fellow contestant on Survivor, David vs. Goliath with Mike White, was cast as a waiter upon the announcement of the 2nd season renewal. It was reported that a predominantly new cast of characters would be focused on another White Lotus property for the 2nd season, though Mike White had stated there was a possibility for a few cast members from the 1st season to return as their characters. On October 15, 2021, it was reported that Coolidge was set to return for the 2nd season. In January 2022, it was announced that Michael Imperioli, Aubrey Plaza, F. Murray Abraham, Adam DeMarco, Tom Hollander, and Haley Lou Richardson were cast to star in the 2nd season. In February 2022, Theo James, Megan Fahey, and Will Sharp joined the cast as series regulars, while Leah Woodall was cast in a recurring role for the 2nd season. In March 2022, Beatrice Gran, Sabrina Impactor, and Simona Tabasco joined the starring cast for the 2nd season. The 2nd season features White's fellow Survivor, David vs. Goliath contestants Cara Kay and Angelina Keeley in cameo roleship. In the 3rd season renewal announcement, it was reported that there will be a new cast of characters on another White Lotus wrestler. Principal photography for the 1st season began in October 2020 in Hawaii under COVID-19 guidelines. On November 21, 2020, it was reported that the series was halfway through filming at the Four Seasons Resort Maui at Wela and was scheduled to film in December at locations around Maui. In January 2022, it was announced that the 2nd season would film at the Four Seasons San Domenico Palace in Taormina, Sicily, Italy. On February 28, 2022, HBO confirmed that production had begun there. The opening theme of the 2nd season, accompanied by a chorus of voices, shows scenes from the frescoes of Villa Tosca in Palermo. Filming took place in various locations in Sicily throughout the city of Taormina, notably the San Domenico Palace Hotel, which represents the main location, and in the ancient theater of Taormina in Cefal, with the long beach and the view of the Norman Cathedral, in Fiumicino di Sicilia with the famous slave castle, in Palermo, in particular at the Teatro Massimo and at Villa Tosca, the interior scenes of the Opera House in Catania at the Teatro Massimo Bellini, in the city of Noto, in particular Villa Elena, Giardini Naxos, and different views of the seafront of Sicily and Mount Etna. According to Vulture, the costs of production of Season 2 remained at under £1 million per episode, the same as Season 1. Italy, where Season 2 is filmed, offers up to a percentage tax credit to foreign productions taking place in the country. Release. The series premiered on July 11, 2021, on HBO in the United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. The series premiered on Sky Atlantic on August 16, 2021. The second season premiered on October 30. Earth's first season was released on DVD on September 13. A review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reported an approval rating of % for the first season of The White Lotus based on 95 critic reviews, with an average rating of. The website's critics' consensus reads, though its true intentions can get a bit murky, gorgeous vistas, twisty drama, and a pitch-perfect cast make The White Lotus a compelling if uncomfortable viewing destination. On Metacritic, the season has a score of 82 out of 100 based on 39 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Matthew Jacobs of TV Guide rated it 4.5 out of 5 and wrote that it is some of the year's best television thus far. Rolling Stone's Alan Sepinwall graded it 3.5 out of 5 stars and called it frequently uncomfortable, sometimes poetic, occasionally hilarious, and deeply idiosyncratic throughout. White's attention to character detail was praised, with Naomi Fry of The New Yorker lauding his affection for his characters, who never feel like caricatures, and G. Berman of Time commenting he's uniquely attuned to characters' internal conflicts as well as their varying level of self-awareness. The New York Times' James Poniewozik commended White's signature balance of sardonic and sincere tones and his ear for how people can weaponize idealism, though he also noted the writing sometimes strains to be topical, with its culture war Mad Libs references to triggering and cucking, canceling and doxing. The performances of the ensemble cast were widely praised, with Roxana Haddadi of Rover Bertcom giving 4 stars out of 4 and writing it reveals a combination of performances that are nearly universally enthralling. Of the character of Armand, Poniewozik wrote, Bartlett shows the invisible gymnastics that go into this job and plays him like a coiled spring. Haddadi lauded Rothwell's nuanced, elastic work with a haunting final on-screen moment. Berman said Coolidge is poised to be the series' breakout, but also praised Zahn, Bartlett, Rothwell, Lacey, Sweeney, and Daddario. Criticisms of the first season lamented that the non-white, native Hawaiian characters who work at the resort, such as Lonnie and Kai, received little screen time and were the least developed characters. In this way, critics argued the show did not sufficiently engage in the topics of imperialism and white privilege, issues the show seemed poised to critique in its satirization of the affluent, white upper class. Poniewozik felt the show could use more attention to the downstairs half of its upstairs-downstairs story it flicks at, but doesn't really explore, the lives of the native Hawaiian staff bussing tables and performing dinnertime rituals for the guests. Mitchell Cuba Fox wrote, scraping at imperialism, The White Lotus mimes a moral center but never engages the topic beyond mere gesture. How successful can a piece of satire be if it replicates the very power structures it purports to satirize? White has said the intention of giving native characters less screen time was to show how interchangeable the workers appear to the more privileged. Inku Kang of the Washington Post said the characters and performances make for a twisty, queasy, sweetly claustrophobic drama, but opined that next to other popular TV shows that center on white, affluent people, such as Succession, Big Little Lies, The Undoing, and The Crown, The White Lotus does not have anything new to observe about the trail of casual destruction the moneyed and connected can leave in their unhappy wake. In The Observer, Kyle Turner wrote, as someone who is very fond of White's usually tender, deft hand at balancing tone, he hoped the show had more precision in its aimed poisoned arrows. Turner added the show is too broad to be a good satire, too pointedly critical to be a straight tragedy, too invested in its melodrama to be a broad comedy, until it becomes Ouroborosian in its indecision on tone and ethos. It's not that these genres and tropes can't coexist, it's that here they float adrift, devoid of alchemical balance. Critics were divided about the season 1 finale, with Kang saying the swerve late in the series disappointingly sails the story toward calmer waters. Once the turbulence is over, only froth remains. Other critics, such as Emily Street James of Vox, argued the anticlimactic nature of the ending was precisely the point of the show and underscored White's commentary on the powerful and the privileged. The American Film Institute named it one of the 10 best television programs of for the second season. Rotten Tomatoes reported a high percentage approval rating with an average score of based on 94 reviews. The website's critics' consensus states, swapping its tropical trappings for Euro chic while focusing primarily on the corrosive influence of carnal desire, The White Lotus remains a cookie full of arsenic that goes down smooth. On Metacritic, the season has a score of 81 out of 100 based on 40 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Multiple critics voiced that White repeated the success of the first season with sharp writing, his ensemble cast, and more focused plot lines, with some saying it is an improvement on the first season. Lucy Mangan of The Guardian rated it 5 out of 5 and wrote, "The writing is as dense and layered as ever, the plotting is immaculate, and the viewer's sympathies or loathings are never allowed to rest in one place for too long." Writing for The New Yorker, Inku Kang gave a positive review, writing the airless sociological fatalism of Season 1, which was matched by a claustrophobic production due to COVID-19 restrictions, gives way to a more mature drama, as well as a deeper exploration of how the characters' class concerns converge with gendered angst. Brian Tallarico of Robert.com wrote, "Mike White is a writer that is as thrilled with a fascinating dinner conversation as he is a murder mystery, and so even as the plotting sags more than it did the first time, the way that his characters bounce off each other, unpacking their social constructs, remains fascinating." Alison Herman of The Ringer praised the series' pivot to the theme of gender politics, writing, "White knows that sex, like money, is a form of power, and that each is intimately bound up in the other." Melanie McFarlane of Salon observed, "You may not want to be in the same room with the people you're watching, but the sights alone provided a level of escapism like nothing else on TV." For The Washington Post, Travis M. Andrews wrote, "Though these new episodes meander at times, Season 2 is more tightly plotted and there are enough new ideas, with even the most staid insights heightened by White's razor-sharp writing, for it to feel fresh." Some critics welcomed the characters Mia and Lucia, two Sicilian prostitutes whose plot lines intersect with many of the hotel guests, saying their presence felt like a response by White to criticisms of the previous season's focus on its well-off leads. Others noted how the second season has invested in horror imagery in a way the previous outing didn't, and it's been one of this installment's best through lines. Others thought the shift from the themes of class criticism to gender roles made for a less riveting watch. Writing for Vulture, Roxana Haddadi said Season 2 centers infidelity to diminished effect, and that there's also a new bluntness and a noticeable tentativeness that keeps this second season from hitting as hard and bruising as immediately as its predecessor. Vanity Fair's Richard Lawson wrote, "Season 2 is a vibrant set of plates to set spinning, which White does with his usual mix of acerbic bite and melancholy, though things do feel a little less pointed this season." Shirley Lee of The Atlantic noted Season 2 is as juicy as Season 1, but it's not as caustic in its approach, commenting on the more diminished role of the hotel staff. Linda Holmes of NPR wrote, "Thematically, without that tension between how the guests see themselves and how the staff sees them, The White Lotus seems adrift. With all the criticism of the first season and the fair questions about whether it was satirizing its rich and white characters' lack of interest in the people around them or just reproducing it, it was always clear what the show was trying to be about, or thought it was about. It was trying to be about the foibles of wealth and carelessness. It's much less clear where White is going with this story. Like the first season, the American Film Institute named it one of the 10 best television programs of 2022.